August 16th at 5:30 p.m. If you'll please join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen.
Thank you. Okay, and if we can get an adoption of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda for August 16th, 2022 as submitted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. All right, item 2 is our recognition section. Anybody have anything for recognitions or proclamations at this time?
Didn't have anything.
Okay, Sandy, do you? Ron?
I'd just like to recognize all the work that went into getting ready for take students in the first day of August, and the principals scrambling, to fill vacancies at the last minute, and then, afterwards, after in the first week as well. So anyway, everybody just, putting in a lot of effort to get there. So.
Good. Point well taken. Dr. Remendini?
I do. I want to also acknowledge and thank all of our staff and for a wonderful start to the school year. We've had a great beginning. Everyone accepted our mission possible, including our board president. I think he has his glasses to put on. And we're working hard to make this a great year for all our students. And I do want to extend a warm welcome to all our new employees and our new students for this school year.
All right, let me get my glasses on.
I should have warned you.
There you go.
There you go.
Now I'm ready.
Okay.
Mission accepted.
Okay.
Except I
Yay.
can't read, so.
Oh,
All right. Fun's over. All right, so now we have item number 3 is call to the public. Is there anybody in the public that wishes to address the board at this time? Okay. We'll move along to our consent agenda. Any board member need anything pulled before we take action on the consent agenda? Hearing none, can then entertain a motion for that.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda items for August 16th, 2022 as submitted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. All right, now we're in action items. Item number 5, we've got request for approval of the financial reports presented by Executive Director of Business, Mrs. Erin Johnson.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, Superintendent, Dr. Amandini. You guys have the financials in front of you. So it looks a little different this time because I don't have everything uploaded into our system to generate the nice little dashboard and things that you guys are used to seeing. So this was kind of a manual input for this evening. So starting off the year well, obviously July we don't have a lot of expenses in there. We don't have all of our payroll on board yet because we don't have all of our employees here. Not all of our purchase services for our students are in place yet. Principals are a little bit slow to start purchasing things for the year as well. Our buses aren't running, so that's why you don't see a lot of expenses yet. But obviously, those will start gearing up in future months when you look at those. So that's the case for both the M&O and the capital expenditures that you see. So for the month of July, our budget balances are positive. We are in compliance, and there are no surprises to the best of my knowledge.
Perfect. Any questions for Erin?
Not now.
Yeah, not yet, right?
Not yet.
July's a pretty easy
No, not
month.
now. After she uploaded the right document.
All right. Get a motion for Erin's
Yeah.
report.
I'll make a motion to approve the financial reports as submitted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Erin. Item 5B, request for approval of the employment of Jeremy Nunn for the position of Executive Director of Support Services, And we just met him tonight. He's in the audience. Appreciate it. Need a motion to get Jeremy on board.
I'll make the motion to approve the employment of Jeremy Nunn for the position of Executive Director of Support Services effective August 22nd of 2022 as submitted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion carries. Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Put your seatbelt on, Jeremy. It's gonna be a ride. Item 5C, request for approval of landscape services procurement. I think Dr. Remedini has
Yes.
explained to us. Is there anything you needed to say?
No, just to remind the governing board that we did go out for a formal request for proposal for this item, and we're not successful in that process. And so since the procurement is over our threshold, we do need to do a single source, a sole source procurement for this. This is only for the remainder of this year, and next year we'll go back out for, and try to get a bid that's more in line with what our budget is. Okay?
Very good. Anybody want to roll that motion out?
I'll make a motion to approve the landscape services procurement as submitted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion carries. Thank you. All right, last action item is item D. Governing board to discuss and may consider action to approve the Arizona School Boards Association's proposed 2023 political agenda and direct the district's delegate to the ASBA Delegate Assembly to represent the board's determined position. Everybody have a chance to review that, I'm sure?
Yeah.
Any conversation?
Well, this, like, okay, let's, a couple questions. Like the number 15 on page 2. Says, give all districts the authority to provide affordable housing options to faculty and staff.
Yeah.
Is that something that the state has to authorize? I mean, to me, it sounds like it's just a, just a statement. It doesn't, if there's no action there, I mean, can we not do that?
In Arizona, currently, there's some workarounds that have to happen if a school district that's is not on a native land, reservation. It can happen, but this, one of the ASBA proposals was to make it easier for regular school districts that aren't on reservations to offer housing. It can be done. I'm guessing that's the meaning for this. Somebody had put in the funding, but they're not going to fund housing for teachers. But
Okay.
there's some different ways of paying for housing if you're on a reservation.
So, for example, if we had, well, like the old district office, or, had a vacant building, somewhere that were able to be made into apartments and we rented them, is that not legal?
It is legal.
Okay.
It is legal. There's some funding challenges that have to be, and in Wickenburg, we're just starting to look at that. So Aaron and I have had some conversations. I went to a session at a conference last fall trying to explain how you take current school buildings and turn them into housing without bonding and without doing some of the other funding issues. So I don't know that this issue will change the law at all. It is perfectly legal to do. It's easier if you're on reservation land.
Okay.
I know in Morristown, we had a teacher. And our head teacher lived in that house. That was part of their salary, part of their,
Package,
yeah,
benefit
part
package.
of their benefit package was that they lived in the teacherage that was right there on the school grounds.
Yeah. It is not uncommon. There are a lot of school districts, even in Metro Phoenix, that have teacherages. So it's a good question. Why is this on here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I looked at that too and I go, okay, I don't really understand this one.
Okay, go up, and then if you go up to the top of page to 9, this be, I guess, for Aaron, and it says, return desegregation funding to a primary tax levy.
Desegregation is more in the metro. Desegregation doesn't apply to us at all. That's my understanding. I don't know a lot about it because we never have gotten the funding.
Okay, well, that's what I'm wondering, is
But
do
my
we get
understanding, it's more in the metro area.
special funding for, which would be kind of a.
So it sounds
course.
to me like it's not gonna, they're not gonna have it be a separate funding, but they're gonna put it into the tax levy in the areas that we're already receiving it. We don't receive it.
Oh, okay, all right. Okay, the other one, I mean, on the front page, I think that's just a wasted statement personally. I think they ought to just do away with the whole expenditure limit. And number 3, modernize the constitutional aggregate expenditure limit to reflect current education funding levels and priorities via legislative referral to the voters. Why don't they just do away with the limit anyway, because the state's certainly not gonna overfund us.
The
No.
only way the aggregate expenditure limit can be changed is by a vote of the voters in Arizona. Otherwise, they have to override it by March 1st. So
Right.
it has to be referred to the voters to modernize it.
So is that what he's saying?
Most education advocacy groups want the aggregate, if the aggregate expenditure limit needs to remain to stabilize the Arizona state budget, because it's not only public school districts, but it's also cities and towns and counties, whatever they're spending. If the AEL needs to continue, it needs to be modernized to adequately reflect what the current issue is, not the 1980s, but only the voters can do that.
Okay.
So I have a question for Ron. So do they vote on each and every one of these, all these pages?
What they'll do is they'll come out and they will, go, okay, anybody have any comments about what was already approved from last year? No, okay. Well, then we'll go through and they will vote on each one of the new things or the changes that have been made from last year. And then each category, then the first category, which is adequate and equitably fund district schools to at least the national median per pupil funding. They will then vote on that whole
That's
aggregate.
the whole
The whole
thing,
thing.
not
That,
individually?
no, they'll go each individual
Oh,
one, but then
okay.
they're gonna go on the whole, okay, approve the whole thing. Yeah. Yeah, I know, it gets a little tedious sometimes. And then there'll be individual some of these, there's one guy that's gonna get up to talk about every one of them in some form or another. He's been there every year I've been there. And he tells you that he's retired from the Army and that he's, so anyway,
So he's there every year?
yeah, very vocal.
Ron, when we went to this, did they still have the districts that put these proposals, line items in? Do they get up and justify why they did that, or do they still do that?
Yeah, I mean, if there's any particular, if there's like a comment, discussion back and forth, they'll, if there's any kind of question, they'll say, okay, why did you,
Okay.
do this? But there's also, you can have, and you'll see that packet I gave you, there's colored sheets and stuff. You can write in ones
Right.
that day.
Yeah.
And you just have to get so many signatures of the delegates there to get it on the board.
Hello, Susan. We finally figured out the technology. I just have you on my speakerphone. Okay. We are on the last action item.
And I'm making it long because I didn't want the meeting to be over in 5 minutes after driving all the way up here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I just have some more questions.
Okay.
Like, we support local board authority for student suspensions and to adapt open enrollment policies based on capacity. Don't we already have that?
Yep.
But then if we already have that, then I would recommend that's a deletion,
Right.
you know?
Well, and if I remember in previous years, we've kind of gone over these and kind of picked which ones we wanted to say something about or
Right.
didn't want to say anything about. And unfortunately, I've never been able to hook up my printer and be able to print this. So
Huh.
it would be nice to have this in front of us so that I could, write.
We're gonna,
Would you like me to print you a copy right now?
somebody gonna make copies?
That would be great. Yeah.
Because
For some reason, it will not let me hook my printer up to this computer.
Aaron, I already sent them.
Oh, so did I.
Oh.
Okay, we'll have lots of copies.
Casey, would you go get them?
And this one, I'll just go on. It says, in category 3, improved outcomes for all students. On number 3, it's about fully restore 9th and 13th grade CTED eligibility. On the 13th grade, is that all they do? Is it during school hours that group comes in for CTED? Do they have to pay for it? I mean, how does that work? Anybody know?
I thought it was part of our curriculum.
It would be,
CTE.
the funding for career and technical education, CTED funding is at WestMec for us. So that would increase the funding for students who didn't finish their program that they started at Wickenburg High School. If we had a program and then they went to CTED, the CTED would get the funding for that student that year. So they would still graduate from us, but they would continue to attend WestMec to finish their program of study.
They would go to WestMec, they would.
And they're likely WestMec students while they're with us
Mhm.
because we don't have the same programs that WestMec does.
Yeah.
So if it's a student doing the motorsports program, if they went there for 2 years or 1 year during their time at the high school, at Wickenburg High School, they could finish that program and the funding would follow them so that the CTED would capture the funding for them to finish that program.
Okay.
That makes sense.
What is the classes that we teach here in that, like radio and TV and the health medicine and stuff like that?
Our CTE programs are currently stagecraft,
Right.
sports medicine, culinary arts, film, business, and agriculture. And we actually do have a construction class, but the construction class will move to agriculture in the future. But our students wouldn't go to WestMec for those programs. They go for dental hygiene, motorsports, those things that we don't offer.
Right, but for the ones that we offer, will there be a 13th year for those? The one, okay, there won't be a 13th.
No, they
year.
would graduate from here.
So
Yeah.
they graduate after 12th year, and if they hadn't finished,
Oh,
but if
here.
they hadn't finished that program, I mean, in other words, if they started a year and there still had a year left that they could do in that program, but it wouldn't be here. Okay.
No.
That was where I was just confused as to how that was going to work.
And that's to the best of my knowledge.
Okay. Which was leading into the next one, which said allow CTEDs to, up to 21 years old. So, that was my question, are they going to be coming to the school here, up to 21 to do these
The
programs?
CTED is the WestMec, the PIMA, the
Okay.
that,
We're CTE, they're
we're
CTED.
CTE, they're a CTED.
Okay,
Okay.
all right. Okay. That's
And
good.
we could have students age 21 attending Wickenburg High School under certain circumstances, and they could take CTE classes. So grade 13 could be a student who is under a individual education plan.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this thing that gets me about the SBA legislative agenda is, I mean, there are some things that seem to be here just because,
Yeah.
you know, and they, like, on the next page, there, where it says support policy that protects school district employees and students from discrimination, including on the basis of sexual orientation and gender identity. Isn't this already a law? Now, why are they wasting time and effort on this? And that's one of the things that irks me about ASBA in the last couple of years. They've,
I think they've strayed away from their purpose, to be honest with you. The thing is, see, it seemed to me that years ago, when we did this, there was only like 10 items on here.
Right, yeah.
And we kind of went through and we decided, though, what the 10 things were that we were for, that we felt were important or whatever. And those are the ones that we went down there with our say, not 4 or 5 pages for.
right.
I'm like, gonna have to sink or swim this time.
But I think the 10 items were, like the last time was the 10 that were changes. I believe it wasn't the whole
I
structure
thought we
of
picked the
this.
10 out that we were,
It would be more,
felt
In line
were
with
the
us.
most important.
yeah,
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
That's what kind of stuck in my head,
right.
because I think we were down at festival when we were discussing that.
Yeah.
We already-
Yeah, because this, when is the meeting, middle of September?
Yeah.
Is it before?
No, the beginning of September.
Oh, it
like
is?
the
Oh, is it
8th, 9th,
beginning?
and 10th. I
Oh,
think
really?
it's the 10th.
Ah, okay.
My dad's birthday.
Ah,
Yeah. It might be worth the board's time to take a look at the things that are a priority, and I think we do have a delegate already selected to go there, and just to make sure the delegate knows what this board's priority are.
Right.
And focus on just what those items that are of most important to this
Yeah.
board, knowing that other boards may have other priorities, but certainly
Right.
this list is a lot longer than it used to be, as you.
it is, yeah, and like I say, there's a lot of stuff on here that really,
So
they twist it to make it kind of like apply to schools, but it's more just a political statement in a lot
well,
of these things.
yeah. And the thing is, so if we don't like agree with some of the stuff that they've thrown on here, do we even have to vote? I mean,
Well-
can we just not vote?
Well,
Or vote against it, or?
there was like one we had last year that we, you know, the one on, let's see, they've reworded it so it's not the same. Last year it said oppose any measure that would result in fewer qualified voters from being easily able to vote or register to vote, which, you know, and that was one that did garner a lot of discussion, pros, and it was one of the closest. It came down on the vote, it was 55-45. And the 55s won out to keep it, but they rewrote it this year to make it a little bit, you know, it says support policy that encourages all eligible voters to exercise their right to participate in elections,
Okay, I guess this is another question.
which is a little bit, you know, I mean, it's
These
just
were
an
all
obvious
already
statement.
voted on last year, or the year before, whenever the last team is. Why do they continue to show up on here?
Because they're gonna continue to advocate for it, and it wasn't passed in the
but-
legislature, so they're gonna continue to advocate for it.
Right, but why do you have to vote on them again if they've already?
Well, the only ones that you really vote on are the changes.
Okay, so the ones that are in red,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you'll get a whole different list when you get there, because all the other boards around the state are putting in stuff, and that's where some of these really oddball things show up. So, yeah, you'll get another list like this when you get there, that may not look like this one.
This. What am I getting into?
I don't know. I didn't
quite an
know either.
experience,
I
Sandy.
still don't know what it did.
It's an experience.
I
That's
can-
fun.
I
Believe me, I did
can
mine 3
see
terms.
that.
But I mean,
I did mine.
I don't know, I mean, as far as priorities for us,
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking, because like I know number 5 is
Right.
big for us, right?
Yeah.
what?
Everything in number 5
Section 5,
is
yeah.
huge for us.
Yep.
5,
And I think number 1
5?
I think
is
that's the rural.
probably big for
Oh,
us.
rural schools, yeah.
But I don't know if everything under number 1 we would agree with.
Right.
Number 5 for sure.
Yeah, 5 is all the rural school, that's all new,
Rural and remote.
yep.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, one, other than having, as far as agreeing with it, I think there's some redundant statements in here that really don't need to be in here because they're a fact already. But,
Right, I mean, I think the main statement to fund district schools at least the national median per pupil funding, that's it, right?
Right.
yeah, but some of the sub ones are under there, that's what I'm talking about, as being,
Yeah.
yeah,
15
Oh,
of
yeah.
them.
they don't
I
need to
agree.
be in there, but, the overall statement, yeah. I mean, you can't really argue with any of the main categories.
Right, it's the sub stuff.
And it's all the sub-statements in there that are. But, really, I didn't see anything, like I said, there's some in here that are just, I think, not needed. For example, the last 2 statements. I mean, isn't that kind of a,
You talk about under number 1?
no, last page. last
Oh,
page,
and the
yeah.
school safety
Yeah.
and security.
School safety, advocate for,
Oh, for gun violence
be,
and,
in self-harm.
yeah.
Yeah, well, do we have to tell them that they need to address that? I mean, isn't that kind of a, it's like, I guess, but
Right.
it's again, all that, is just, okay, well, just ASB, writing their own thing. But anyway,
Yeah, that's kind of a,
I really can't, personally, I can't disagree with any of these right now, the way they're written. I just think that there's some that just are a waste of time.
yeah.
Well, like we've got the one in section 1, number 12 is the provide full-time funding for preschool programs and K-12 funding formula. That's something we've talked about locally here for a long time.
Yeah,
So,
Yeah, the full day kindergarten too is under there.
right.
Yeah, I saw that.
yeah, that's all, and then, all-day kindergarten and the preschool programs, and funding for preschool programs was in there last year, they just added full funding this time, or full-time funding.
I'm looking at number 11, and adequately fund the cost of student transportation, including adequate maintenance of school bus routes for rural schools. It sounds like we need to take care of the roads.
Well, they're wanting the states to do that, because there are, from, listening to some of these, board members from the reservation areas up there.
Oh, yeah.
They don't have roads that
Right.
buses can get down.
Right.
Like between Sun Valley Parkway and Highway 60.
Right.
without going through surprise.
Right. Yeah, some of these things are just so common sense and things that you're going to do automatically,
And are already doing.
and that we're already doing, that it just seems kind of redundant. But I'm willing to go chill out.
And maybe it is common sense for us, and we're doing, but other districts are less so.
Well, I know they're a little more,
Well, I would say I do think it's very important for every school board member and every school board as a whole, not the member, but the whole and the delegate, to express to ASBA what's important to us, so they advocate for what's important to us, because that, they're putting together their political agenda, and,
right.
you know, if the input is not provided to them, somebody else is making
Right,
that
especially when
decision,
you're
so.
outnumbered, when you have so many more bigger schools than
Yeah.
you do the rural schools.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I'm saying, so,
And there is a rural school consortium that advocates on behalf of rural schools to the state legislature as well. And this is the first year they've combined and put their platform on with ASBA. So they will also have their own agenda for their advocacy during the legislative session that is this one.
There is an ASBA, small and rural schools, or
yeah.
whatever, but committee now,
Yes, there is, yes. Mhm.
it's part of ASBA. And since they've been in business, I think this is probably the first agenda
This
that
is-
they've had a chance to put into.
When does this have to be into them? Does that say anywhere?
We should have gotten a letter somewhere.
Tonight, you just vote on the agenda that we agree upon and
Give it to delegate.
approve that the delegate is already there. And then Sandy takes, I'm assuming she's still saying yes, Sandy takes this board's options to and represents the board at that meeting.
Do they have the specific date that this is supposed to be?
Yeah.
There was nothing that said it had to
No,
be
I don't
turned in.
see,
No.
well, nothing on
And
this.
And I
And
guess
it's
unless you have
September 10th is the
unless you
meeting.
have
Oh,
specific.
well, see, I didn't know that. It just showed, or somewhere, what it was, last year, was September 11th. But it
And it's
didn't-
September 10th this year.
Yeah,
It is.
September 10th.
Okay, I didn't know where, when that.
I don't know where, I think we're in Scottsdale.
It's over on the Marriott at Camelback, maybe, or something like that.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That's where it's
So you
at.
guys want to strike some of these off of here and then shorten the list, and Sandy can take that along, or does Casey have to send something? No, it's just a matter of Sandy carrying it in.
I think that if wasn't there I thought there was a deal that had like the top 5 or something that
Yeah,
I didn't see any of that.
that
which
we.
is what we had last year. I think there was like 10 or,
But I thought there was like a form, ASBA form that had like, list the top 5, send that in, type thing.
That's what we've done in the past. I
Yeah.
put down.
but I don't see anything this time. In fact, like I said, this is a
Let me
lot
see.
longer than it was. I've never seen one quite this long.
Well, with this draft proposal that's in our hand, the stuff that we wanted or would like to see is on this list already. So, I don't, unless you guys want something else added or,
I don't see anything of the changes that they're asking for that we need to
Right.
make
I don't, either. But I'm with Susan on that, item 5, and then under number 1.
I did have a question on this one too. It says modify the number of signatures required for CTED board to align with similar school board candidates.
Where are you, Sandy?
On the
Section and number.
Preserve and strengthen local control.
Give me this.
That's number 2.
Oh, okay,
number
thank
2,
you.
And item 10.
Yeah, I don't know what
I
that
mean,
means
I
because
have
we're
no
not a
idea what that
CTED.
means.
We're not a CTED, so that doesn't impact us.
Right, that doesn't even need to come from that ASBA. Not our,
Well, ASBA does represent CTEDs.
right, but are they
Yeah.
at this
Mm.
ability? Are they? Okay.
Mhm.
So there's something that's not on here that you guys have thought of, or, Aaron, you saw it, did you get to see this?
This is the first I've seen it.
Because, I mean, as soon as I saw that funding, I thought of you and our conversation we had at a board retreat. And so I'm just looking for things like that
Right.
that would impact our little district more than some of these other things.
Yeah, I mean, like kindergarten funding, full
Right.
funding for kindergarten would be fantastic.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the aggregate expenditure limit is a huge issue in the state of Arizona. All that additional funding we got will be for naught if they do not do something about that AEL.
Right.
It will,
Right, that would be my number one,
it will
be-
not, yeah.
the expenditure limit. They've got to do something about that. They cannot continue to fund schools on a formula based from 1980. Like,
Oh,
it just
right.
doesn't.
Yeah, they need
Work
to,
anymore.
bring the funding formula up to the
Yeah.
present day.
Right.
And I would say they need to do that before that March deadline because everybody's sitting around on pins and needles waiting to see what's
Correct.
happening and holding funding back from students, waiting to see if we're going to have to update our budget in the next 30 days.
Right.
Yeah, they don't let you know things to and know before March.
So just for the board's information, I did some backtracking because I really, in my head, thought we had already had an opportunity to submit to ASBA any recommendations for the legislative session, and that was during the week of June 20th. So now it's just voting on what they came up with
I
and
found
then
this-
representing
I just
us.
found
Did
the
you
same
find
email.
that? Yeah. Representing us when we get there. So
Yeah.
that is a difference in the past. That is different.
Yeah.
I have one question, Erin. The type of funding is called what?
For what?
For the formula to be changed from the 1980s?
Oh, that is just the expenditure, aggregate expenditure limit.
Aggregate.
So it's the limit that is set for the state.
That's number 3 in section 1.
I find if I write something down, it stays up there. I mean, are they ever gonna fund K kindergarten?
We keep trying. Maybe you'll get it done this year. Do you have a decent little list there, Sandy?
No, just one thing.
It'll be a short meeting.
Well, no, because we know this
Right.
is, we know this one, and we know this one. So,
And then 5.
um, you know, I didn't, and correct me if I'm wrong, when when I read through these, I didn't see anything about vouchers.
There is one.
Is there one on vouchers?
Yes, it says,
Vouchers?
it's under 4,
Yes.
require public accountability. Number 2, repeal any program that gives public funds for private schools, vouchers, empowerment scholarships,
Well, that
and
just
private
got
school
passed today.
subsidies.
It did?
Hmm? Well,
Just-
it passed the state legislature.
He signed the,
He signed it a long time ago, so it's in rule now. So it is on, there's a group of people trying to get it to the voters to repeal it, because that's how it would have to take to repeal it, so.
and that's why I don't understand it was voted down before.
I was gonna
It's
say,
been
how many
voted
times
down.
do we have to vote it down for them to quit putting it back in there?
Circle really big on this one.
I saw the news report this afternoon, he said it was official, so.
It is official, and the only way it
Right.
could be repealed is for it to go to be put on the ballot and the voters to vote it down
And they've been out
again.
collecting
Okay.
signatures to get it back on the ballot again, so we can vote it down again,
Right.
so that the legislature can put it back in again.
We just need a new legislature.
Well, that's because the legislators own the charter schools.
But charter
They
schools don't
shouldn't even
count.
be allowed to vote.
Yes, they
on
But
this.
I'm just saying, but charter schools don't get,
No.
the
you're right.
vouchers aren't for charter schools.
No, but I'm saying the legislature.
But they do own all the charter schools, yeah.
You know, and I think one of the most important things is that because charter schools are public schools, is they ought to have to be as accountable as we are. That's my big to-do.
Anything else?
Because it's not fair.
Susan, did you think of anything else?
No, that was my thing.
Okay, thank you.
Good,
Randy, you good
good.
here? Ron, did you find any others?
No, I'm good. I guess not.
Oh, yeah. It's easy. Well, you're gonna hear a lot of different.
I'm a good wingman.
That's right. Just remember that. Okay, so we need to entertain a motion on this,
Do I need to officially be here at a meeting?
Yeah, the last page, do we have to,
Appointed as the delegate?
Yes.
yeah,
And then don't we always have an alternate, just in case I fall and break my leg or something?
it's right there. All right, Ron, you're a fallback guy.
From here.
You already know Randy's not gonna be
I
here.
can be out of town, I'm gonna be.
All right, so you're right. I mean, thanks for.
Yeah.
bringing it up. All right, so,
Is it all under one, I guess? So, all right. Okay, I'll read it then. Are we ready?
Ready?
ready.
I make a motion to approve the Arizona School Board Association proposed 2023 political agenda and direct the district's delegate, Sandy Gill, to attend the ASBA Delegate Assembly to represent the board's determined position.
For the Wickenburg Unified School District
I
number.
thought I got that in there. Okay.
Specifies
For
in
the
the other
Wickenburg
part,
Unified School District.
name of the district. I'll second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, wait a minute. It says the assembly's on September 11th.
That's Saturday.
That's a model governing board
Yeah,
addenda. We rewrote that. Those are just samples, and it is September. That's from last year.
Oh,
It's
that
just
was
a
last
sample.
year.
Oh, it
okay,
is,
was the
okay.
11th, okay, 'cause the 11th is on a Sunday.
I
that's
think
where
we're
I saw
okay.
the
Okay.
11th.
My great-granddaughter's birthday,
Anybody opposed?
just to be.
All right, that motion carries. Thank you, Sandy.
Oh, you're welcome.
And I sent you another thing, so.
Oh, you did? Okay.
All right, so item 6,
I
we've
need
got
Jeremy
items for
to
future
get my-
agendas.
Printer hooked up to this.
Anybody have anything for future agenda?
did, I forgot what it
No.
Brian, you good?
No, I'm good.
Still looking or?
was. No, I was just excited.
See all your schedules?
Yes.
Okay, and you've seen,
Thank you.
seen the announcements and the calendar of events for upcoming, for our next meeting. And so if we can get, item 7,
Move to adjourn.
I think that's your
I did it.
section.
she did it.
I did
Oh.
it.
She whispered.
Second.
I'll second.
Oh, thank you, Susan. All in favor?
You can't whisper that.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And we are adjourned at 6:16. Thank you, Susan, for joining. Be safe coming back.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, Susan. Bye.